NFL draft time, 16 days away, and each day we get closer. Seems more and more likely that Cam Ward is going #1 for the Tennessee Titans, coming off an extremely impressive pro day. No whispers of Tennessee being willing to trade down either. You'd have to lay $200 right now just to win 10 on Cam Ward going #1. If you think it's possible somebody else does, I guess you got value. Abdul Carter 18-1, Travis Hunter 50-1. Pete Prisco has a brand new mock draft for us, and we'll spare you the details other than he has Cam Ward going #1 to Tennessee. So we're going to actually start this draft at #2 as Ryan Wilson joins us as well. Pete, the Cleveland Browns there, and this is where the draft we think is going to start. What do you think they're going to do?
Well, I don't have them taking a quarterback because I just don't think they will. I don't think they have the belief in Shedeur Sanders to take him at #2. I think the decision will ultimately come between Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. And you hear rumblings from inside that organization that there's a real strong push for Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter is a great receiver, and I mean that sincerely, because when I started the evaluation of Travis Hunter, I thought he was going to play corner, but the more I watched him as a receiver, the more I realized he's going to be a special receiver who can do some things and play a little bit of corner. The Browns need help at wide receiver. I know Jerry Jeudy did some good things down the stretch, but he's that type of wide receiver, the 1A guy. I'm talking about Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. That's who he is, so I think ultimately they'll take Travis Hunter.
I get it, Pete, and here's the thing. I was at the Colorado Pro Day last week. We invited you, but you said you were too busy, so you chose not to show up. But Travis decided the day before that he was going to work out last minute, and then he did it like when you did it back in the 70s, no gloves, and he went through his workout, and it was flawless. And I know, and you're not wrong, we sometimes overvalue these Pro Day performances, but that was crazy to see in person, his athleticism. It reminded me of a juiced-up version of Jahmyr Gibbs at his Pro Day a few years ago in terms of how special he is. And you're right, the Browns, if they draft him, they don't need a cornerback. They need wide receiver help. The Giants at 3 need wide receiver help. The Patriots at 4 should somehow Travis be there. They need wide receiver help. So I understand what you're saying. My only concern, and I don't think you're wrong in terms of what the Browns are thinking, but Kenny Pickett's their quarterback right now. And if you even like Shedeur Sanders a little bit, you can never have enough quarterbacks. I would certainly think long and hard about taking one here. I know why you took Travis Hunter. He's the layup pick. But if no one's going to throw him the ball, it doesn't matter where you line him up. So I would think about Shedeur Sanders here, just in terms of trying to make that team more competitive in that really tough division.
Well, the way this goes, Pete, you have Shedeur available for the Giants at 3, but why do you have them going elsewhere?
Well, I just don't think they're going to take a quarterback. I just don't think there's a strong enough belief in Shedeur Sanders, either by the Browns or the Giants, to take him in those situations. And when you can get a surefire star player, you take him. The 2 best players in this draft, and it's not even debatable, it's, aside from quarterback value, are Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. And I would rank them Travis Hunter 1, Abdul Carter #2. So if you're the Giants, do you take a risk on a quarterback you're not really sold on in Shedeur Sanders, or do you take Abdul Carter, who can add to your pass rush group? And everybody says, well, they have pass rushers. They have Kayvon Thibodeau. I get it. They have Brian Burns. But you know what? You can never have enough of those guys. And let's not forget, this guy was an off-the-ball linebacker who moved up to play the edge last year. He can be a joker on your defense. You can move him all around. The Giants won Super Bowls by rushing the passer. That's how they did it. Well, you know what? You get another edge rusher to add to that group. Boy, oh boy, they're going to be tough to block up front.
Yeah, Pete, I was supposed to give you a hard time on this mock draft, and later in the draft I will if we're doing all 32 picks, because down the line there's some stinkers. But this one I'm all completely on board with. And the difference between Cleveland and New York is that at least they have Russ Wilson as a potential backup or safety net, whatever you want to call him, and Jameis Winston as well. Whereas in Cleveland they have nothing. And Abdul Carter, to your point, he is one of the best players in this draft class. He was banged up at the end of the season, did have the foot injury they found out about at the combine. He wasn't even aware of it. That's how little April it affected him. But when he's healthy, he is absolutely unstoppable, and he is only going to get better. So I would certainly understand the reasons for passing on the quarterback here, given that you at least have a backup plan in the short term. And then Abdul Carter's a guy that on day one is going to be a game wrecker, especially with the understanding that he cannot be double-teamed because of the other players on that defensive line.
The Patriots come up at 4, and Prisco has him taking Will Campbell. In Ryan's latest 3-round mock draft, he actually had the Bears trading up to number 4. And Pete, you have the Bears trading up to number 5 in yours.
Yeah, I do have them trading up to number 5 to go draft Ashton Jeanty. And there's some rumblings around the league that Ben Johnson wants to add him as the runner in that offense. Remember, they solidified the offensive line in free agency, or at least they think they did in free agency. So they have the wide receivers, they have the quarterback. So why not get the game-changing running back? And by the way, I think Jeanty is by far and away the best running back in this class. Would I take him here? No. Would I trade up to get him here? No. But he is a special running back. The value of the position would deter me from doing that, but it makes all the sense in the world if you're Ben Johnson. Get your guy. Get a guy who can give you the big play. Get a guy who can move the chains. We talked about it this morning when we were on the podcast, pushing the pile. What we said was, and this is accurate, he is David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs all in one. You don't need two. You have one. So get Jeanty. I think he might go up and make this move to get him and solidify that running game on that offense.
Pete, you're coming around to understanding the value of the running back position. You don't want to say it out loud, but your actions speak louder than words. And Ben Johnson's actions, I think, are exactly in line with what you're talking about here. He saw front and center. You talked about fire and ice, David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs turned out to be worth that number 12 overall pick because of the way that offense worked. And look, we can talk about how good Jared Goff was and the progress he made as a top 12 quarterback. I think Caleb has a chance to be certainly surpass that. And they got the interior offensive line sorted in free agency, we hope. And now you get a player like Ashton Jeanty. That could be a game changer. He didn't catch a lot of passes last year, but in 2023, he was very much Jahmyr Gibbs in the pass game as well. So he provides that versatility as well. And if you're helping your young quarterback, what better way than to solidify the interior of the offensive line and then get some help right behind him in the backfield at running back.
All right, so Pete had the Browns and the Giants passing on Shedeur Sanders, but there's one team in the top 10 you do not have passing on them. Who is it?
And by the way, my view on the running back position has not changed. Would I do this? Absolutely not. This is a mock draft. We're trying to be predictive, not what we would do. By the way, that mock draft comes out in a couple weeks. I wouldn't take it back this high. So it hasn't changed, Ryan. Don't put words in my mouth. I still feel the same about the running back position. I'm not drafting him in the top 10. Back to Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders at 9 to the Saints makes sense. You can take a little bit more of a risk when you slide down at number 9. The Saints quarterback situation is a disaster. Derek Carr, not very good. Big contract, not worth it. So what do? You try and get an offensive mind in there, and Kellen Moore, get his guy, and maybe he can spend a year or at least 6-8 games watching Derek Carr, and then he takes over and becomes the quarterback. Do I firmly believe that Shedeur Sanders is a franchise quarterback? No. But again, we go back to what we say about the position. Until you solve it, you got to keep trying, and I think this is one of those efforts by the Saints to fix it.
Yeah, and we don't know any of these quarterbacks in a year. We always have to couch it in the terms of we don't know how this is going to turn out. But the other thing is fit matters, especially at quarterback, and it feels like a good fit for the reasons Pete laid out, and that Kellen Moore has gotten a lot out of his quarterbacks, both young and old, and you're in a situation where the pressure's not quite as high because you weren't the first or second overall pick. You're playing indoors, and we have questions sometimes about the arm strength of Shedeur Sanders compared to what Cam Ward has. I think his arm's plenty good enough, and we saw in those clips there, he's actually a better athlete than we sometimes give him credit. But I think if he's allowed to be eased into that role as well, that could certainly help his development. For all those reasons, I think the Saints make a lot of sense as well. And the other thing to keep in mind, guys, if he gets past 9, Shedeur Sanders, the next team that needs a quarterback is at 21, where Pete has Jackson Dart going. If Shedeur's there, I would imagine the Steelers would take Shedeur over Jackson Dart because they have some quarterback issues they need to solve as well. All
right, so we just hit on a few of Pete Prisco's top 10 in his latest mock. Much more on that later on this afternoon from Pete Prisco as we count down to the NFL draft. Ryan Wilson on the With the First Pick podcast. They're starting some full 7-rounders going team by team. Latest team, the Denver Broncos. Find your team at the First Pick podcast.